Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul. Today, we're going to be discussing 3 signs that you are more yourself than ever before. Happy March 1st. I am so happy and grateful that you're here today with me. It's always a blessing and a pleasure to walk this path with you, alongside you. This year, 2026, is feeling, I'm feeling so much optimism, and I hope you are too, because so much of 2025 has been preparing us to really receive the blessings, the abundance, the joy, the peace, the love that we've been waiting for, that we've been calling in. The shifts and changes have been rapid, and that's why today's show is going to be really important, because along my own journey, and I've been on this journey for well over 20 years, I have started to recognize, and I still continue to look for these kinds of signs. There's many more than 3, but I'm going to narrow it down to 3 signs today that are going to really help you to recognize how far you've come, so you can celebrate, hand on heart, all that has led you to this now moment, so you can fully recognize it and really embrace the new you that is emerging. Chakra-Care for the Creative Soul is a show that offers you a sacred invitation to slow down and restore calm, so you can tune into your divine creativity. In these shifting times, restoring the sacred to your self-care has never been more important. If you identify as a light worker, I am here to support you to care as much for yourself as you care for the world, while you're birthing your dreams into beautiful reality. Hi, I'm your host today. If you haven't already met me before on other shows, I'm Pollyanna Blanco, the healer's healer. I guide visionary women to move from exhausted to epic, transforming challenges into sacred soul gifts, radiant resilience, creative courage, and divine wealth. My clients learn to care for themselves as deeply as they care for the world. Are you ready to feel soul nourished and flourished? I've been called to serve as a sacred self-care coach, creative midwife, chakra dance facilitator, quantum energy healer, intuitive guide, and transformational teacher, as well as a best-selling author. I want to guide busy light workers like yourself to restore the sacred to their self-care as you're birthing your dreams, so you may be transformed and divinely empowered through the co-creative process. Awaken to your greater creative vision, sustain your energy, birth your dreams, and embody your light work. As a creative midwife, I weave quantum energy healing, dance, movement therapy, and intuitive guidance into a divinely inspired process that empowers creative souls like yourself to reconnect with your true expanded self and emerge transformed through your experiences. In these shifting times, staying inspired and ready to share your sacred soul gifts with the world is so valuable and so important, and that's what you came here to do. I've shared my expertise on multiple podcasts to date, such as the Hermitess podcast, New Consciousness Review with Miriam Knight, and Meet the Light. I've also been a guest contributor to Holistic Fashionista magazine. I am proud to say I am a certified feminine frequency business leader who passionately cares about your ascended self-care and well-being. Because right now on Earth, the feminine frequency is rising, and creativity is the new paradigm shift. Not just creativity in the sort of kind of conventional sense of being an artist, although I am very much an artist soul, and I've been 29 years and counting an art teacher in the public school system here, in tandem with being on an inner awakening spiritual journey and building a healing practice. What I will say is that when we look at creativity in its most expanded expression, it's about returning to a soul-led life. It's about returning to a remembrance of who we are as divine creative beings. That's the beauty of this journey. That's the journey I've been on. And if you're feeling guided and drawn to watching today's episode or any of these shows, I'm going to trust and say thank you for trusting your inner guidance and embracing, hand on heart, the journey of remembering your own divine creativity. It is, bar none, one of the most profound gifts you have to give as well as receive. In my heart of hearts, I know this is where our inner riches lie. There's been so much programming over millennia, especially for women, around victimhood and scarcity. And there's a lot that we've been unwinding, not only for ourselves, collectively, for a while now. And at the same time, in tandem, many people are talking about it. There's a new earth emerging. And this new earth is a frequency field. It's a coherence breath line. It is multidimensional. It is rooted and anchored in creativity, divine creativity, as we are all able to be that clear, grounded, stabilized coherence field through which source, creative source, divine source, whatever you want to call it itself, can express through us. We are the many faceted, brilliant, sparkling expressions of that one source of divine creativity in its myriad of forms. And this is what makes us just be such a gift to one another when we fully embrace our divine creativity. So, thank you for being here. And if there are any questions in the chat or comments, I'm going to circle back to those after I've shared the 3 signs that you are becoming more yourself than ever before. So here we go. I'm excited to share these with you. I was really sitting with what to share today, and this came through loud and clear. I just feel like we're in March, and we're on Tuesday, we've got an eclipse coming up, and it's a lunar eclipse, and it's a red moon that's going to be visible across many different, locations during the day. And one of the things with eclipses is they are gateways. They are moments to really acknowledge and celebrate and recognize how far we've come. So often we can, on this inner growth and inner awakening journey, at least in my own experience, only take this if it resonates for you, it can start to feel like almost like a hunger, right? We're hungering for more. We know we came here for more, 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 more. And I feel like this is a bleed through from our consumeristic timeline, right? Very 3D dense timeline. And it's a bleed through in the sense that we, when we're moving into a new expression of ourselves and leaving an older one behind, and that's what these 3 signs are going to acknowledge today, there will be bleed through in timelines and in experiences. And it's recognizing the bleed through. It's recognizing where we are in transition. And a lot of the work that I do and that I feel called to do and support beautiful creative souls like yourself with are how to navigate transitions with greater peace, ease, grace, love, and joy. Because transitions can get sticky. Transitions can be places where we misunderstand what's happening, and that requires, oftentimes a mirror. It requires someone who can help us to recognize what is really going on, because we're so close to it, and because we're literally allowing an old version of ourselves, an old identity, to dissolve and fade away so that the new one can more fully come into focus and clarity and emerge and be anchored and stabilized. There is this sort of almost like space between the space where we can start to feel a little lost. So the very first sign that you are becoming more yourself than ever before is that you're feeling grounded. And we often learn through contrast, right? So in my own journey, being grounded was something I had to work really hard at. You might be that way too, because there's so much pulling at us in our fast paced, rapidly shifting world right now, especially if we care a lot about what's going on in the world, if we're empathetic and we are like sponges and pick up other people's energies, or maybe we don't. What can happen is we can find ourselves, when we're not grounded, lost in overthinking. That definitely happened to me. And I still have to be mindful of that. The key is when you're starting to become a witness rather than a participant in these old patterns, that is the key. And that is the transition phase. I'm going to say that again because that was a profound recognition for me in my journey. And that is, you're no longer, I want to say, like a participant by default. You are now a consciously elected witness of your patterns, which means you have a different vantage point on them. You're not knee deep in them. And so when you feel this tendency to drift into old ways of doing things, what you'll notice when you actually have become more yourself than ever before is that those old ways of doing things are going to start to feel heavier than ever before, possibly like a lot of emotional labor and even energy draining, to name a few things. And here's the rub, it's all about recognizing that that's actually what's happening through the experience of contrast, so that you can embrace a new way that feels better, lighter, more in flow, more coherent. Again, this can only happen when you're fully in your body, feeling like an embodied presence. And this is why the more you can get back into your body, whether it's through exercise or walking in nature or just moving your body to music, noticing your experience as a moving field of energy. It's a form of dynamic balance, because I have danced most of my life. I spent 13 years devoted to dance sport, performance, and competition. And I learned very quickly that, especially when I got into partner dancing, that balance is not static. I hear people talking about that, like, okay, balance is sitting when I'm sitting still, or I'm trying to stand on one foot. Well, it is that and so much more. And the balance that we really need for our day-to-day lives, especially is when we're on an inner awakening journey, when so much is rapidly shifting and changing inside of us, let alone outside of us, is to find that sense of dynamic inner balance. And that comes from really anchoring into our body. Okay, the second sign is, by the way, the first sign is very much root chakra. After all, I'm getting tongue tied. I often do that when the words come through more quickly than I can say them. The energy's flowing right now. I can feel it. Thank you. Thank you, energy. And that is that this is called Chakra-Care for the creative soul, because our chakras are gateways. They are that multi-dimensional wellness dimension of who we are. And our root chakra very much is about being grounded. Um, if grounding is something that, you need to focus more on, I'll have other shows on that. Today, I just want to kind of zero in on 3 signs that you actually are, becoming more fully yourself. And you might notice that it's in one area a little more than another area. It's all good. And if it's in one area, it will ultimately, with conscious intention, also become present in other areas of your life. This is, again, something that you might be noticing. So something that's just coming through right now as I share that is this is what I'm being guided to share with you right now, is to really ask your higher self. And by higher self, I'm not talking about a self that is better than your human self. It is your divine self, your soul self. There are many different ways you can call it. It's the it's the expanded awareness that has already started witnessing who you are and the patterns you've been choosing and the habits you've been repeating, and invite it to guide you in terms of how you can maybe create more groundedness when you're at work as well as in your personal life, or the other way around. Just or ask it to help you to see what has been grounding for you. You know, I remember years ago hearing a talk by Cindy Dale, who I have enormous respect for, and I was also deeply honored and humbled when she reviewed my very first book, In Rhythm with Your Soul: Break Through the Barriers to Being Creative, Face Your Demons and Dance. And she really encouraged me to actually even finish writing that book. She made a comment about grounding. Oftentimes we think about grounding into the earth, and for many people, grounding into the earth is incredibly sustaining and helpful. And then I also want to acknowledge, because I thought it was so beautiful that she acknowledged this too, that you can ground into other elements. You know, if grounding into the earth for whatever reason just doesn't do it for you, I remember she had talked about you could ground into wood, or you could ground into, you know, the stars even. Um, the key is to really notice where you feel fully in your body, because that is the key. Okay, moving on to sign number 2. So sign number 1 is noticing that you're grounded. Sign number 2 is noticing that you respond rather than react, that you're feeling a sense of being centered and connected to a felt sense of yourself that feels anchored from within yourself. And when this happens, you're going to notice that emotional triggers feel neutral. And this neutrality may become confused with being sort of detached, or even like mildly depressed. I know when I first started experiencing neutrality and I'd be around people who were still on that roller coaster, uh, very excitable, very reactive, I felt like an oddball. I felt like, okay, wait a second, what's going on here? Is there, and if, again, the life scripts came in, is there something wrong with me? Which is always lovely, right? Don't we love to hear that being said to ourselves? So I just want to point this out because it's a subtle discernment, because as you shift into a different experience of yourself through all the inner growth and inner work you've been doing on yourself, and as you ascend the density, the neutrality is actually your nervous system is learning to let go of living from fight or flight or fawn or freeze or whatever you want to call it. And what you're actually experiencing is a new form of aliveness, one that doesn't depend on the peaks and valleys, the reactions, the emotional drama, and the addictive habits to ride that roller coaster of life that still so many people are on. It's a default program, and there's so much feeding it out there, so much distraction, so much fear, so much doubt, so much uncertainty. People are looking for relief in all kinds of places, momentarily, fleetingly. And so there can be a lot of pingy energy out there, like people ping-ponging all over the place. And when we're not ping-ponging all over the place with them, and we haven't yet found spaces and places to be around people who are grounded and centered and more regulated, it can feel a little bit like you're a fish lying outside of the fishbowl, right? And I know I had the blessing on a few occasions to be in spaces and places. One was a trip, and I say this because it was the very first time I received the gift of being around other people who were living this practice of really embracing that sense of neutrality, of responsiveness over reactiveness. It was an amazing trip with a group of women to the Yucatan, and we were all commenting that we always knew that this was possible to feel this way, not only inside of ourselves, but in the presence of other women and other people. And it wasn't performative, it was genuine, it was authentic, it was aligned, lived truth, and a choice to live from this intention and this awareness. And it was so beautiful, and it was so easy, and it was so natural. And having had a taste of that for, I think I was with the group for about maybe 5 days, trying to remember exactly now. I left that experience, and it helped me so much to recognize that, you know, in those moments when I was neutral, my ego mind would tell me stability can feel flat in contrast. When the stability, the inner coherence from that stability, as opposed to all the chaotic dissonance in my energetic field when I'm around people who are reactive or I'm being reactive myself. When I'm in that field of neutrality, that stability, that coherent field that's anchored and responsive, and I'm grounded, then it makes it actually possible for a true aliveness to come through because there's no interference energy, and I can be that pure channel. And my emotions, it can be my feedback loop, but they don't have to be my reaction loop. So that's another really important thing. If you've been noticing that you've become less reactive and more responsive and you're feeling more neutral, allow that to be a blessing. Receive that. If the mind wants to pathologize that and turn it into something else, you know, just notice that. And then the third sign you're becoming more yourself than ever before is you are choosing to create rather than control. I'm going to say that again. You're choosing to create rather than control. So on this show today, I've been really zeroing in on the first three chakras, which I often like to call the human chakras. They are the stabilizing chakras, the root chakra being grounded, the sacral center chakra, which is all about, you know, our relationship to ourselves and others and how we show up, you know, and when we're responding rather than reacting, that's when we actually get back into creative flow because there's more spaciousness, there's less static on the line. And the final sign is that solar plexus, like it's that place where our identity shifts, and this whole idea of focusing on the problem no longer, you know, is where we want to hang out. It's not that we're ostriches and we bury our heads in the sand. You know, we can face reality. We're strong enough, we're stable enough to face reality. The difference now, the discernment now, is that once seen squarely, it's now about looking at our capacity to create something even better. We're not living from victim. We're not living from helplessness and hopelessness in the face of uncertainty. Instead, we're choosing to allow a new version of ourselves to emerge. And this new version of ourselves actually isn't even new at all. That's the craziest and funnest thing about it, is that the new version of ourselves is actually a remembrance. It's thanks to all the unlearning you've been doing as you have been dissolving layers of illusion. In this new identity, old friendships, interpersonal dynamics will often shift. They might even fall away. They also may have a renaissance and rebirth and expand and continue to track with you because you're actually, through your own loving inner work, being that light leader and offering others an invitation to ascend along with you. It can be many different expressions, right? So what often happens for a lot of people, myself it happened for, and will probably continue to happen for, because this is an ever ongoing journey. We're continuing to expand, is that in moments of transition, when you're becoming more yourself, you will feel for a period of time, perhaps, like you're in the fray at first. And that's okay. Just remember it's only temporary. There might be a temptation even to lean into old ways of relating to yourself and others, old identities, old roles, um, even being a little performative about those roles. And when you do, you'll probably notice it feels like an old outfit that you once felt great in and no longer do. And that's where the gift lies. And if we can receive the gift, then that's where the gold is. That's where the inner riches, you know, lie. It's about trusting yourself, the process, and any sense of aloneness as being just that, temporary. You are, bar none, not alone. You are surrounded by the expanded version of yourself that's witnessing everything. That there's an expanded version beyond even the expanded version of you that's witnessing you. That's the beautiful thing, is it's infinite, right? And at the same time, you have guides in many forms, whether you call them spirit guides, angels, ancestors, whatever your belief system might be. And when we expand beyond who we once thought we were or were taught to believe we were, it may feel lonely at first. It may feel like, you know, we don't know where we belong or where we stand. We might even grieve, go through a period of grief of letting go of that old version of ourselves and anything that we perceive as a loss that comes with that. And at the same time, the beautiful thing is that as we expand into a fuller expression of ourselves, it's there's actually incredible new not just opportunities, new connections, new expressions, new experiences that are just waiting in the queue for us to step into that resonant field, that frequency match. You know, they're in the queue. Our higher self, our soul self has lined them up. I know one of the things that has been coming through loud and clear for me, um, not the first time ever, it's been really strong though lately, are these timeline, what I like to call timeline bleed throughs, where I'll get these flashes across the screen of my mind's eye of what truly is possible. And they come at the most unexpected times when I'm not thinking about, oh, I wonder what the future holds, or I wonder where this is leading, or how will this unfold. I could be just doing a mundane task or even concerned about something. So it feels almost like really out of left field. And they're quietly persistent. They're not um, telling me what to do or scaring me. Those visions are just really crystalline clear. They're embodied. I can feel them. I can see them. And what I've come to realize about them is that they're bleed through from my higher self, showing me a timeline that I'm on in another dimension. And that the more I can feel into them, the more I can be curious and notice what I'm noticing that is being shown to me, and then look for where in me right now is there a frequency match to that, and then is there anything that's being brought up inside of myself, any limiting beliefs, any thoughts that are surfacing, any sometimes it's not even a literal thought. It might just be a tightness in my body. It might be a temperature change in my body, like I'm about to break out in a hot sweat, or my palms get sweaty, or my stomach starts to get a little like it's trying to digest something, because these are all subtle, like kind of chiropractic adjustments for the soul that are inviting micro awarenesses in to make little miniature adjustments. I don't know about you, but I go to an osteopath once a month just for a 30-minute check-in. And I find working with an osteopath so interesting because it's not like, I'm going to just, crack your, your bones or whatever. You don't hear that big loud cracking sound, or it's very subtle. and yet I feel it. And so one of the things I really enjoy about going to an osteopath is tuning into my body during the sessions and noticing the subtle shifts and adjustments that are happening, because I bring that awareness into those moments when the visions come up, and I notice if there's any inner resistance in my body, and or in my heart or in my emotions or in my thoughts. And then I use that awareness of those little tensions or resistances to inform how I choose to live in this present moment and be with myself in it and all that crosses my path. So, this is where the artistry of living and the magic of living comes in, and it becomes fascinating, complex, and rich, and nuanced, and beautiful, and just an ongoing discovery process. So I hope what I shared today has offered you a chance to really celebrate yourself, to recognize how far you've come. You know, this is an ongoing, ever expanding journey, and it's really important to acknowledge in ourselves how far we've come, even if we've got our sights on, big dreams, dreams as big as our hearts, caring for the world so much. And this is how I also see sacred self-care. It's way beyond conventional self-care. It's it's a way of showing up for yourself, your multidimensional self, and really feeling into and remembering the truth of who you are as a divine co-creator, as an energetic being, as just a just embracing it all. So I'm going to just go to the chat. I don't think there is, let's just take a quick peek here. I don't see any, no. Okay, that's all right. I invite you to drop a comment below if you felt any of this resonated with and for you. I also have some links in the show notes to free resources and more about what I offer. And also, I'm going to be adding an additional show note in the next couple of days beneath today's show of a new offering I have. It's a little mini course that is really going to allow you to navigate transitions if you're looking for more clarity right now as we move into 2026. If a lot of people are going through rebirth and regeneration, and it's going to get easier by the time we get to the end of March, beginning of April. Whoa, all the work you've been doing, all the noticing, all the celebrating, the milestones you've been doing is going to really, really benefit you greatly. And so this offering that Spirit guided me to co-create is going to be out this week. And it's not free, but it's like a very affordable mini course. And when I say course, it's an experience. It's basically a way to help yourself to reset your coherence field. Coherence goes beyond relaxation. It's about becoming your own mirror. It's about recognizing the you are to yourself, so that you just the way when you're having a really good drive in your car and you're feeling that flow and there's no traffic and the breeze is blowing and your favorite tunes are playing on the radio. I love a day like that. Imagine moving through your day in your Merkaba vehicle, your cosmic jumpsuit, your body feeling the same way, feeling aligned and in harmony and in flow, and then knowing how to navigate those moments where things are not a match to that, so that you can stay in your flow and keep moving forward with clarity, with discernment, with alignment, because that's what's going to serve you really, really well in 2026. So I'll drop that in the show notes like I just shared with you in the next couple of days. And then I invite you to join me on our next show 2 Sundays from now, not next Sunday, but the Sunday after, where I'll be expanding on that. And then the end of March, I've got something exciting to announce. So please do stay with, and I look forward to walking beside you. I love you so much. I love you for being the light in the world that you are. And I really, really wish you every continued success with your journey, with all that you're feeling guided to co-create and birth in this lifetime. The world needs you more than ever right now. And hand on heart, I bow before you. You're the reason why I show up every single episode, no matter what, because I know we're better together. And I want you to know that you've got this, and that your unique expression is so, so powerful and so important right now on Earth. Lots of love and light. Be well.